Hi, I'm Heather, and today at Spirits Freedom Farm, we thought we'd take a little garden tour. Okay, so we thought we'd give you a garden tour. We are mid-August-ish, so we've got some things that are finished up in the garden or finishing and starting to look a little sad. We've got some things that we are going to pull out. I'll talk about those as we prepare to put in some fall crops. We've got some things we're still waiting on to finish up that are just now coming around. And another thing that you will see a lot of in our garden is weeds. So we'll give you a tour. In our first row here, we have from farthest to nearest, we have celery and kale. We also had some onions in there, some Swiss chard. We had some spinach and a little bit of lettuce. And so lots of green things in this row. And then the very next row over, we had our carrots. And we had some more lettuce in this row. There's a little bit of lettuce left, but it's because it's been through the heat, it's not so good. It's kind of bitter. So we're mostly just pulling it out here and there to give to the chickens. And then we had a little space at the end of this row that we put some tomatoes. We had some extra starts that we had that didn't fit into our tomato row, so we put those here. Okay, the third row here of our garden was radishes. We still have some radishes. It's hot and they don't like the heat so much, so they're just some small radishes back there hanging on. We'll pull those out here shortly. And then we had beets, which we had pulled all the beets already, and you can see that the weeds are starting to take over already. And then we have a few parsnips here. They did get a little bit stressed by weeds, so there aren't too many parsnips, but we have a few. We'll see how those do come fall. And then our next row over, we have peas. We have three kinds of peas here. As you can see, they're starting to brown. Again, they're not the heat-loving vegetable. Peas are not. So we're still getting a few peas here and there, but we're going to replant those here soon, as well as most of the things that I've already named. We have a drying pea, a snow pea, and a sugar snap pea. So we have those on the small trellis. And then here closer in, we had turnips. We've harvested all of those as well. And then we had a little spot, we had room, and we had an extra acorn squash plant that we had started, and we had wanted a place to put it, so we squeezed him in here. So hopefully we'll get some squash off of him. Okay, now this row we had our cabbages and broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. We didn't really get much from those between the rain and then the dry and the heat. They got a slow start, and then the weeds kind of took over. So we didn't get too many cabbages, but we're going to try those again for fall as well. We do have some dill. You may have noticed even in a couple of other spots some volunteer dill, I assume from previous years. But we've taken all what was left of the cabbage and pulled that out and have given that to the chickens. So that was our cabbage row. Now our next row here are peppers for the most part. These are peppers that we purchased starts for. Our pepper starts that we personally started from seed started looking a little bit sad, and my husband went out and bought a lot of pepper starts from a local organic nursery. So those are here, and they're doing pretty well. We have a cayenne, Jimmy Nardello, Round of Hungry, Sweet Banana, and a Sugar Rush Cream peach, or Sugar Rush Cream pepper. And we've got all of those here in this row, and they're doing okay. The plants are healthy, and they're doing okay on making some peppers. We have a lot of flowers, so I'm hoping that pretty soon we have a lot of peppers. I'd like to pickle some of those. And then again, we had a little space at the end of the row, a few extra tomato starts that we put in here, some San Marzano tomato starts. Our next row here are our tomato starts. These are all ones that we started from seed. We have a cherry. We have one called Princi Borghese, which is like a mini paste tomato. It's not very juicy, it's very meaty, so it's a good one for making dried tomatoes, sun-dried or otherwise. We have a San Marzano paste, Amish paste, Cherokee purple. I think we have one German pink that survived. We have a yellow gooseberry. I think we have a Dr. Weich's in here, and a few others. So far, the only things that we've had really ripen are the cherry tomatoes and some of the principe ones. So we're waiting anxiously to try some of these others, hoping that the weather continues so that those will ripen for us. Okay, our next row here we have the peppers that we started from seed. Again, a cayenne, a Hungarian pepper, not a rounded hungry, I can't remember the name of this one though, sweet banana, sugar rush peach, and Jimmy Nardello. That might be all. So we have a few peppers here. We haven't gotten too many off of these. They were smaller, and so they're a little bit slower to develop. And like I said, they started to look a little sad at one point. I think they got too dry. But they're looking healthy now for the most part, so we're looking forward to some peppers from those. And then here, closer to me at this end of the row, we have some ground cherries or husk cherry plants here, and we've gotten a few off of those so far. I don't think we have enough to make a jam or anything, but they make really good snacks, so we just eat them straight. Okay, our next row here we have our bush beans. We have a few kinds that are good for fresh eating and some that are better for drying, making dry beans for bean soup or baked beans, that kind of thing. And we also have some cilantro in this row. We have a purple bean, a yellow wax bean, and dragon tongue, I believe, are the ones that are better for fresh eating. We also have a black valentine, which can be used either way. We have an Italian bean. It's green with some purple splashes on it. We have a bush lima bean. We have a red Native American dry bean, a pink Indian bean, Hutterite, and Jacob's cattle, I think, are some of the dry beans we have. We have a variety of beans here. Our yellow wax did not germinate very well, so we kind of have, they're smaller right now, so we're hoping they'll come up. We may replant some of our beans as the heat is finishing these up, but we may replant some beans as well. We're definitely going to replant the rows from the other end and switch those up. We're going to have more Swiss chard and kale and bunching onions and beets and turnips and carrots and all of that, peas. I haven't decided yet if we're going to replant the beans yet. Okay, in this row of the garden at the farthest end we have a pole lima bean. It's a Christmas is the variety, so it's a white bean with red splashes on it. My oldest daughter loves lima beans and we keep trying to grow them. We're not extremely successful yet, but I'm hoping that we can have enough beans at least to give her a meal of lima beans that we have grown. I also, because the trellis was wide enough that we didn't fully plant it with the pole beans, I also put a melon on each side of that trellis. And then the rest of this row is cucumbers. So we have a Boston pickling, a Persian pickling, a tender green slicing cucumber. Then we have a couple of small Mexican gherkin plants. We really had trouble with the cucumbers germinating. The weather was so wet for so long and cool, and then it was dry and hot. And as you can see, I don't know that a lot of this damage on the cucumbers is insect damage. I think a lot of it is the heat. So we may pull some of these and try to replant again so we can get a few more cucumbers here as the weather starts to cool to the temperatures that they enjoy most. Okay, this next row, and as we finish the rest of the garden, we're going to have just the cucurbit family. This row we have our summer squash. We have an Italian zucchini, Costa Romanesco or something like that. And then we also have a yellow scallop squash. So we have those at the farther end. And then closer in here we have acorn squash, winter squash. And you can see a couple of little baby acorn squashes there. So far, these last few years of having a garden, we have not gotten very many winter squash or melons. So if we have one winter squash or melon per plant that we planted, I'll be very, very satisfied. So that's what I'm hoping for. So we've got a couple of baby acorn squashes here and 2 acorn squash plants right here. All right, the next row is melons. We have 2 kinds of a cantaloupe type melon. One farthest from me is the Missouri Gold, And then closer in we have one called Sweet Passion. We have several melons, so again I'm very excited and hopeful that we will have some that ripen before any other critters or bugs or anybody get to them, and they don't get too pushy with the weather. So we've got those two kinds of melons, and we do have some baby Missouri Gold I saw on there, but the Sweet Passion are getting kind of big there. This next row, farthest down, we have a Pennsylvania Dutch crookneck squash, which is a butternut type squash. And we have a few babies of those. I've seen a few little tiny butternut squashes on there with their little bent necks. And then here closer in we have a winter luxury pie pumpkin. And we have at least 4 or 5 pumpkins that are a good size already. So I'm excited to get some of those. Hopefully, again, at least 2. I've got 2 plants. I know it's crazy to look at all of these leaves and see that all of those dark green leaves with the white veins, there are only 2 Pennsylvania Dutch plants there, and there are only 2 winter squash pumpkins here. But if we get 2 of each, I am so excited. Okay, in this last row of the main part of our garden, we have Redkuri squash, which is another kind of winter squash, and we love it. It's got a really nice flavor. So we've got 4 that did well in starting. We had to transplant a couple of them, and they did okay. So I know they don't really like to be transplanted, but we figured we'd give it a shot, and it worked out okay. So we have a lot of little baby Redkuri squashes, which are still yellow, and I have not. This is our first year growing this kind. So I was a little worried at first, because when the melons or other winter squashes have that yellow color to them, they're about ready to die. But it seems that these start out that color, and they're getting bigger. So I'm very excited, and I look forward to having some Redkuri squash that we grew ourselves. Okay, what we have here are sweet potatoes. This is our first year growing sweet potatoes. And you can count the little orange flags. The orange flags are where we put the slips. And it's amazing that we actually started way more than we have here, because these are really filling the bed. These are Georgia Jet. We only put down potatoes at where the plant is, but there are a lot of vines that come off of these guys. We've got 3 beds, and I think 13 plants altogether. Again, our first year planting sweet potatoes, so we're kind of excited and anxious to see what's going on under the ground when we get a chance to pull these up. Okay, in these 3 raised beds we have potatoes. Again, this is our first year growing potatoes, and we have 2 Redskin varieties and a yellow potato here, a different variety in each bed, and they are maturing at slightly different rates. Here pretty soon we're going to harvest those Redskins. You can see the foliage has all died back, so it's about time to dig up and see what's under there. The only green in that bed are weeds, so and this bed is pretty close to needing to be harvested. Something got the leaves and was eating them, but we'll find out what we ended up with here. And the same here, there's still some green. So once these turn all brown and die back, we'll wait a short bit, a couple weeks. You can leave potatoes in the ground longer, but we'll dig those up and find out. We'll let you know if we have any good potatoes to eat, or what's going on under the ground there. Okay, this little patch was our first garden when we moved here. The main part of our garden was all weeds and brush and honeysuckle, and we cleared all of that out in order to make room for that garden. But while we were doing that, we had this tiny little piece that we planted in the meantime. And this year we have some melons planted here. Now at the end we have blackberries, but we have a couple of melons here. I think these are Collective Farm Woman. We have a Blacktail Mountain or something like that variety of watermelon over there, a few of those. And then we have some kind of a mystery plant that popped up. We had, I don't know, 6 or so of these mystery cougar bits pop up. Either a cucumber or a melon, I'm not sure which. We're waiting for fruit to set, find out what it is. It could be either I spilled seeds when I was walking around and planting, or they're volunteers from the melon that we had growing in this sort of area last year. So I'm not sure what this is going to be. But we have a couple here. We've transplanted a couple over into the small garden that I'm going to show you here in a minute. So that's our little tiny patch here. Okay, in this little garden plot here, we have kind of an overflow. We dug this up last year as we had more starts and such that then would fit in the main part of our garden. So we started this, and we grew our garlic here over the winter and dug that up, and we had some extra starts again. So this is our little overflow patch. We have 2 watermelon plants, a pie pumpkin, and 3 of the mystery plants here that came from the patch that I just showed you. I'm still not sure what those are, but some kind of melon, I believe. It would be melon or cucumber, but I'm pretty sure it's melon. So you have to wait and see if they even make fruit. Find out what they are. Well, I hope you enjoyed the tour of our garden. It will be changing over the next few weeks and months as we pull things out and start replanting things for fall and to enjoy for the cooler temperatures. Let us know about your garden. What do you plant? What do you like to plant? What do you struggle with, in planting your garden? Talk to us about what you'd like to see. Would you like to see our fall garden as we progress? And tell us all about that. And what would you like to see us recipes from our garden? And we'll be happy to do our best and make it interesting for you. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Please visit the blog post linked in the video description below for more information about this video and the supplies used.